FNA 2024 technical sessions provided by the Metal Treating Institute and the MTI Educational Foundation. Before we introduce the session, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. First, we would appreciate if everyone would silence their cell phones so as not to distract the presenter and others in the class. FNA is officially videoing each session for attendees to view once they have been produced after the conference. We ask everyone to please refrain from taking pictures of the PowerPoint slides or videoing the presentation. If we see anyone taking pictures or video during the presentation, we will ask you to please put your camera away. Please be respectful of this request. Lastly, there are QR code wall claims on the walls that go to a survey for the session. Once the session is over, we would appreciate you taking a few moments to complete the very brief survey. These help us improve future technical programs. Each session survey you complete enters you in a drawing for a $100 Amazon gift card. Now for our session. This presentation will review the importance of obtaining CMMC certification and its implications for metal treaters in the DoD supply chain who fail to comply. If your company deals with controlled unclassified information, CUI, through handling, storage, transmitting, or processing, this presentation contains crucial information for you. Help me welcome the speaker, Mr. Joe Coleman.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. How is everybody? So who's heard of CMMC and knows what it is? Okay, so CMMC stands for Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, and it's a requirement from the DoD for anyone that handles CUI or controlled unclassified information. Everyone know what CUI is, or FCI, which is federal contract information, and we'll cover all that. But what it's saying, if you handle CUI in any way, if it goes in your door and out your door, if it runs through your fingers or into your computer, you have to become certified to continue to do DoD work. So I'll show you some takeaways here. So I'll go over these quickly because there's a lot of information here. What is controlled unclassified information? The enhanced cybersecurity protection standards, origins of compliance challenges. It's more than just cybersecurity. What is CMMC? Key features of it and maturity levels. Benefits of compliance, implications for non-compliance, and the benefits of working with CMMC experts. So CUI is I'll just give you a quick background of it. It's sensitive information that is either provided to you by the DoD or you create it for the DoD. It can be anything from technical drawings, training materials, even your furnaces. If you do a work for the DoD or anyone in the supply chain, if you do work for the DoD, that could be the recipe or your formula for your furnace could be considered CUI. Yeah, here's some more examples: export control data, defense contracts and proposals, maintenance manuals, part processing steps, so your work order, your workflow packet, and so a lot of training materials. So this all started with DFARS. Anybody heard of DFARS? Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation Supplement. And there's different clauses for cybersecurity, and this one is 252.204-7012. And that is called Safeguarding Covered Defense Information, or CDI, which is also considered CUI, and Cyber Incident Reporting. So if DFARS 7012 requires that if you handle CUI in any way, you need to be NIST 800, well, Special Publication 800-171 Rev 2 compliant. Also, if you have a a cyber incident, if some reason you get malware, ransomware, you have to report that to the DoD within 72 hours. And then there'll be an investigation, and they just want to know what happened and what you did to fix it. This also flows down to all of comes from your customer, then it flows down to each person in the DoD supply chain. So you could be the last guy in line that just makes a widget, but if it goes to the DoD, these all apply to you too. DFARS 7021, that's the one that calls for CMMC, and they were expecting that one to be released by the end of the year. They wanted to get it released before the election, and guess what? They released it yesterday. So by December, you're going to start seeing CMMC requirements, level 1, 2, or 3, on your quotes and on your contracts and work orders. It'll have to be, there's 3 different levels, 1, 2, and 3. It'll have to be the same level as your customer. So if they're a level 2, you'll need to be a level 2 to provide parts to them, and they'll provide the parts on down the line. And again, those flow down to all subcontractors, vendors, suppliers, you name it. So I'll go over NIST 800-171 real quick because it directly ties to CMMC. NIST 800-171 Rev 2, protecting CUI non-federal systems and organizations. So it's not any kind of government network. It's all non-federal. And everyone was supposed to be compliant by December of 2017 if you handle CUI. And 90% of the people are not compliant yet. I don't know how much you know about NIST 800-171, but it consists of 14 control families or different categories, 110 controls within those 14 control families, and then 320 control objectives or assessment objectives, which all need to be met to be considered compliant. There is no certification for NIST 800-171. It's all self-attestation, self-assessment, and self-attesting. And when you do your self-assessment, you also must, there's a scoring formula that you use, and you get a score, either perfect score of 110 or a negative 203. So that's the range of the score that you can get. And when you do your assessment, most of the people that I've worked with have started out with a negative score, below 0. And that's not a bad thing, because you'll know exactly what you need to do to become compliant. And normally if the DoD is considering you to do jobs, all they want to know is that you entered a score, which means you're working on it, and you have a POAM list or a plan of action milestones of how to get it all implemented. And then you also have to give them a firm date of when you'll be implemented. And then you'll do a final assessment. So CMMC it's been out of, well, it was 1.0, version 1.0 several years ago, and they put it to 2.0. They kind of simplified it a little bit when they jumped to the 2.0. And the differences between NIST 800-171 and CMMC is with CMMC, you have to have a CMMC third-party assessment organization come in and do your final assessment. They have to certify you. And I checked it again this morning. There are only 58 C3PAO companies in the whole United States. So they're going to be backed up real quick. So another reason they came up with CMMC is because when people were doing the NIST 800-171 assessments and scoring, they were given false scores. They were inflating their score. I've talked to companies that their initial assessment was a perfect score of 110. I mean, it's like a miracle. It just doesn't happen. And that runs into the False Claims Act. They can really ding you for that. And again, you'll need a C3 PAO or a certified third party to come in and do the assessment. So NIST and CMMC, it's more than just cybersecurity. You know, it's mainly cybersecurity. Every device you use needs to be controlled. Endpoint protection, firewalls, network security, the whole gamut there. But it's also physical security. It's door locks, key cards, how are you getting in and out of the building? How are you keeping people out of the building that shouldn't be in the building? And secure areas. How are you keeping employees that should not have access to this information? How are you keeping them from seeing this information? It also includes cameras inside the building, outside the building, inside, outside your server rooms if you have on-prem servers. Off-site storage, like for paper documents, like Iron Mountain. They'll do this, they can do storage for you, but it all has to be completely secure too. And remote work, working from home. That has to have a lot of the same requirements as your company will. They really watch that too. Okay, so CMMC, I wrote this a couple months back, so it's still in its final stages, but it's in its final stage now. There will be mandates by the end of this year. You'll start seeing it. It's going to be a phased rollout. So it's going to start with level 1, and that'll start right away. That's not many companies are going to be level 1. That'll start by the end of the year. You'll start seeing it. Level 2 will be 6 months later. That's when you'll start see it trickling into contracts. It's not like going to be all at one time. It'll be a slow process. CMMC is going to affect over 300,000 companies in the United States alone. And the majority are level 2. And I always tell people, before this was rolled out yesterday, go ahead and get NIST compliant. It's the same thing. It's just one, you have to be certified, one you don't. So I always tell people, go ahead and do the NIST 800-171. If you haven't done the NIST 800-171 yet, it's about a 9 to 18 month process to get certified. And, you'll start seeing this in contracts in 6 months. So it's, I don't know if anybody's been getting my emails. I send emails out like crazy. I have for the last 3 years, warning people that they need to get compliant, because if they haven't started the process, they will not get a DoD contract or an order from the DoD or anybody in the supply chain until you can show you're working on it. And I'm going to skip over some of this, but some of the key features is when they went to the CMMC 2.0, it mirrors NIST 800-171 Rev 2. Now, there is a Rev 3 coming out soon, but it mirrors NIST 800-171, and it also borrows some from NIST 800-172. That's for the level 3. They also allow companies, it was 5 levels, now it's 3. They allow you to self-certify on a level 1. And a couple of the controls on level 2, but mainly just level 1. And I'm going to skip ahead here up to the 3 different levels. Okay, so there's, like I said, with CMMC 1.0, there were 5 levels. Now there's only 3, and they've simplified it. Foundational is level 1, and that is only if you are handling FCI, Federal Contract Information. If you handle CUI in any way, you automatically have to jump to level 2. So level 1 only has 17 controls that you have to hit, but you need to hit all 17 perfectly. And again, that can be self-attested and self-certification. Level 2, it uses all 110 controls of NIST 800-171. It's just a little stricter. It needs more evidence, more documentation, things like that. and you need a third-party assessment organization for that. And then level 3 is expert. That's for the high-priority CUI, and majority of companies aren't going to be doing that. Some will, but the majority will not. I mentioned earlier that you could lose business or lose contracts if you don't get certified. So the benefits of being certified is you'll be able to bid on contracts and get contracts if you started the process and you turned in a score. Your cybersecurity is improved risk management. You'll have to go through a whole risk analysis for everything in your building, everything you do. Streamlined process. It helps your reputation. People trust you. If you're getting certified and you're one of the few getting certified, you're going to get the majority of the work. And increased opportunities for business growth. That's what I meant there. And then for not becoming compliant, there are several reasons that some people will choose not to be compliant, and that is the percentage of work that you do that is CUI. Some people only have 5% of their work is DoD work or in the supply chain. They may choose to not do DoD work anymore. This is not a cheap certification. It could run into the 6 figures. It really gets up there. So something you really need to weigh out. If you're not compliant, the people that are compliant are going to get your business done. It's either or. And greater risk of cyber attacks, competitive disadvantages. Now, does anybody know what a registered practitioner organization is, or the cyber accreditation body? There's one accreditation body in the United States called Cyber AB, and they're the only ones that are allowed to certify people for CMMC. So everybody has to belong to that group of people, and they do the training. They test you. So a registered practitioner organization, they hire RPs or RPAs, registered practitioners or registered practitioners advanced. They're the ones that can come in and either guide you through the process or they can do the process for you. With CMMC, the majority of the people are going to use an RPO. With NIST 800-171, you can get by doing it yourself, but if it's your first time, I wouldn't do it by yourself. This is an immense amount of work. So the RPs or the RPAs can come in and they do the assessment. They can get you all the way to where you're ready for a C3 PAO to come and do the final assessment or the certification. We can't do the certification, but we can get you to that point. And RPOs also can train your staff on what to look for, what CUI is, how to treat it, how to handle it. And currently there are about 350 RPOs in the United States. Also implementation support. So for the 320 control objectives, you need to know exactly what you're looking for in order for it to go smoothly. I've seen for NIST, I've seen it taken 2 years for some companies to get compliant. And it doesn't matter if you're a 10 employee company or you're 10,000. It's the same requirements. Plus documentation. So there's so much documentation you have to do. You have to have policies, procedures, plans, system security plans. You have to have a lot of documentations. And RPOs can either guide you through doing that, and a lot of them do have templates that they can sell you or give you, or they can write all the documentation for you. A normal system security plan is probably going to be about 300 or 400 pages of information. That's your main document. And that is about it. Does anyone have any questions? That went a little quicker than I thought it would. Yeah?
Do the RPOs do like a pre-assessment or an actual certification audit?
Yes, they can do that. We can do the initial assessment and get you to the point of your final assessment.
But they don't do the actual certification?
No, you have to have an assessor and a C3PAO, third-party assessor, come in and do that. And those are the ones that there are only 58 in the whole United States right now. Yeah.
So will this be retroactive to any current DoD contract?
Going forward.
Just new DoD contract?
Yep, going forward. And it'll be a slow takeoff, but you will start seeing it soon. Yeah.
So, do the DoD determines which documents are CUI, correct?
Yes.
And then moving down the food chain, that means earlier you stated that each of them had to be the same level.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that mean everybody needs to be at level 3 in order to?
No. If your contractor or your customer is certified to a level 1 and they just handle federal contract information, no CUI, you would just need to be a level 1, and it would say that on your order or your contract.
Okay. So for example, level 3 says, hey, this is only a level 1 document, and sends that out to the customer or to the supplier?
Yeah, and it's supposed to be marked. It has a big purple page on front. It says CUI. But unfortunately, they're not doing a good job marking the documents. I've only seen a couple documents that are correctly marked. And it's supposed to come from the DoD, pre-marked. If they don't do it, it goes to the contractor. Then they need to mark it. If they don't mark it, it goes to the subcontractor and on down the line. And you'll see a lot of things that you're not sure if it's CUI, but there's training, free training classes online, websites that tell you there's like 150 different categories of CUI. So there's a lot of different information out there. Did that answer your question? Okay. Yeah.
Let's say that we receive CUI, such as a drawing or something like that, and it's not marked as CUI. Who gets dinged? Is it us or is it our customer?
I would go back to your customer first. That'd be my first response.
Because we have no way of knowing unless it's marked.
Right. Well, you would know based on the type of information it is. But if it comes in and it is not marked, you need to go back to your customer or contractor and ask them if it is CUI. And if it is, either you send it back to them and they mark it, or you'll have to mark it yourself.
I'm not in the day-to-day, but I haven't seen anything come in that says it's CUI. Although
Yeah.
we receive contracts that tell us that, we need to be compliant with this 171.
It'll normally say you have to be DFARS 7012 compliant, which is NIST, or the new 7021 is now CMMC. So if you see DFARS required, that's how you'll know that you'll have to be certified to do that. Any other questions?
So that's a Department of Defense thing, not necessarily Department of Energy?
They have their own kind of CUI. This is strictly the DoD. They never work together. But yeah, they have their whole other CUI categories. This is strictly DoD. Defense, military, aerospace, things like that. You can always catch me afterwards. I'll be around the show. Catch me, talk to me. I'll be happy to help anyone. Okay? Thank you very much.